anything other than a connection.
And Microsoft's been so committed to bureaucratizing tech, and Zoom was made accessible for everybody to just adopt.
Right,
It sure it was. That's what I'm saying. But why?
right.
Microsoft is Teams, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Microsoft wasn't Skype. I can't even remember who owned Skype or
that was
owns.
Microsoft.
That was Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't get to the table, but it was like Zoom. Yeah, they were ready, but someone really threw their name around because I'm telling you, we were using Zoom
Right,
because we've been working with people all over the world for so long,
right. Exactly.
but it was not a known entity. We worked with Skype, we worked with Google Meets.
Do,
and-
do, do, do you remember the era of picture tell? You had a
mm,
$50,000 television set and an ISDN line.
and you could have the picture in picture. Was that what?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Picture tell. Yep.
So the U.S. Education Department of Education spent billions of dollars on picture tells,
Picture tell.
and they sent them out to all of the schools. And this is circa 1995.
Was that Chris Whipple?
Was that what?
Chris Whipple.
That doesn't ring a bell.
But I think he was picture tell. Anyway, go ahead. I'm just.
Well, so they got these devices, and none of the schools knew anything about the technology.
Right.
They just got the devices and they put them in the closet.
Right.
They spent not $1 on how to use it, not
Mm-hmm.
$1 on training.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been using picture tells in the commercial arena at that time. And we said, geez, this is going to be the greatest thing in education of all time. Okay. This is how I got $5 million from the Mott Foundation.
Okay.
So the Mott Foundation was doing a program called 21st Century Community Learning Centers.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we said, wouldn't it be great to put a picture tell in the community centers
Mm-hmm.
so they could connect to the school or to outside programming? And we got $5 million to do that at Pontiac schools.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an indication of the story that Jonathan told about what he learned in college, when oftentimes you have a great idea, when you put it into place, it fails.
Mm-hmm.
So here they had, the schools had run up these picture tells to everybody, not trained anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And in the real world, I was working at McMath Hulbert Observatory in Lake Angeles, and thought that it would really be great if the observatory and the Detroit Zoo in Greenfield Village
Mm-hmm.
could work with the Michigan Science Teachers Association and demonstrate that. And so I went to the MSTA and I said, this is what I want to do. And they said, we're going to allow you to do that. We'll give you the Renaissance Ballroom. We come to Detroit every 4 years. We'll give you the Renaissance Ballroom, and you can have an example of a studio. And I said, great. And so we got our friends at the Detroit Zoo. We got a couple of schools. The Oakland County ISD participated, and the Macomb Science and Math Center participated, and so forth. And we had the International Baccalaureate in Bloomfield Hills School give me 50 kids. And so we had 150 kids. And EDS said, we'll be glad to provide you with the technical expertise. They gave me 150 engineers. And we went about building a network. And on the day of the event, we had laser connections because we didn't have fiber. We didn't have any fast, high band capacity in 1995. So we had to laser from the observatory down to the point in Pontiac and drop it down and take it to Royal Oak. We had to laser from the zoo over to Royal Oak, and then it moved it down to the Rensen, to the conference room. And we had the kids at the zoo in the various exhibits. They were in the penguinarium, in the butterfly garden, and so forth and so on. And they were going to be the talent to explain what was going on. They had to go in and do a two-week immersion in those exhibits. And at Greenfield Village, they had to go and get themselves in the exhibits, and at the observatory as an exhibit. And then that was live. And to a person, the reaction by the teachers was, that's going to take our jobs. They ran from the exhibit.
Wow.
The kids were going, you need to know about this.
Right,
Okay.
right.
It became such a joke that the kids decided that they would create their own artifice. And what they created was the Zoopremes.
Ah,
Yeah, not the Supremes, but the Zoopremes.
I got you. I hear you. I follow.
I mean, if you're not going to get it, teachers, we'll give you something that we get. Okay. Okay.
And Jim, tell how they took over the network.
Oh, well, yeah. So we're there for 3 days, and we opened up Friday. And so on Saturday at 6 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call, and they're really, excited. The engineers had just arrived to find out that the kids came in early and got on the network and opened it up. And they called, and they were just flabbergasted. They're going, Jim, we really got a problem. I go, what's the problem? Well, the kids came in early and they're using the network. And I go, what's the problem?
And like, what? Is there a problem?
Yeah. So for the next year or so, I would dial a school and I would go, do you have a picture tell? And they would go, no. And I would go, do you have a thing in your closet that looks like a television in shrink wrap? And they would go, yes. I go, would you like to? And they would hang up. You know what I mean? Like, they not spent $1 on billions of dollars worth of equipment, which all went in the trash dumpster. If you can imagine, for the want of an instruction, that opportunity was held off 3 decades till Zoom came along. And here's the incredible thing. It didn't come along and they recognized it. It came along and they were forced by a pandemic. You want to know how bad the education system
let me
is?
take you back a little bit farther than that, because I wrote my first white paper on virtual learning.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
About 18 years ago.
Wow.
And I tried to, and I finally found a school in Flint, but it's closed now, to test it as a flipped learning environment, where we gave the students, at that time, we didn't start with Chromebooks, but we started with laptops, and my husband wrote the learning management system, where they could take the computers home and do their homework, and then they could contact their teachers or their tutors, assigned tutors. And then that way they would be engaged to come back to school the next day.
Wow. Wow.
So that's why we were dubbed like the first, I don't know if you Googled it, but we were dubbed the first virtual school, right, founder, because I really, like you, would try to get schools, traditional school districts, private schools, parochial schools, to adopt a virtual learning model. I wasn't trying to say get rid of all your teachers. I wasn't trying to say
no, of course
this
not.
is the end all be all. when
but
kids
that,
are homebound, when
but that,
kids are being bullied and scared to come to school, when kids drop out, let's re-engage them,
right,
help them still earn their high school diploma so that young parenting, we have so many young parents, mostly mothers, when kids, when young ladies become pregnant and they can't go to school or they should still be going to school, they don't want to go to school, embarrassment, whatever. And sometimes it's the young parent, fathers,
sure.
but let's keep them engaged. So I would go around the school districts trying to get them to adopt this virtual learning model. The
It,
state finally came up with a seat time waiver act, right?
right,
But, and that's what I was saying to Bart, that we can partner with him. I don't know that Pontiac schools will adopt it. You guys have people on the board because they don't want them because it shows, it puts a spotlight. Forgive me, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but it puts a spotlight on the fact that you have so many kids that are not graduating. And so
right,
we become the mechanism that you can funnel your kids through us. They can literally graduate through us, still be an accredited school through your district, but
Oh my
you don't
gosh.
have to take the hit, Pontiac or
Wow.
Detroit, you see. And
guess
so
what,
that's how I was trying to, I had the sign of the cross thrown at me. We will never have virtual learning in schools, not in K-12. You may have it in colleges and universities. Well, sorry, it really started with the Department of Defense because I did some work with them years ago.
uh-huh,
And then we did a lot of it, as I said, when I worked with EDS, General Motors, back in the day in Germany, we had to leverage some of that via, virtual. But they did not want it in K-12 schools. Fast forward to COVID, and what did they have to do?
they're forced,
They had to do it, right? But
right,
I even had one superintendent of schools, and I don't want to give the time and date because you might know who it is. Out in Southfield said, we don't want, and I'm air quoting, you can't see me, say, we don't want those type of kids in our school district. What are you saying
right,
to me?
right,
These are the kids
right,
who live in your district. They just aren't going to school.
right,
They're already here. But yeah, granted, we can with by virtue of virtual learning and C-time waiver, we can get kids from, even though we've got target development groups in Detroit, Pontiac, Flint, Inkster, Dearborn, guess what? We can get kids from the UP. We
you can
can
get
we
kid,
can
you can
enroll
get,
kids from all over for
you can
you.
get kids from the world.
From how about that? From the
Yeah.
world. How about
So,
that?
so we really don't need the buy-in. You see, this is the position that we find ourselves in. And you might wonder why there's no one else on the call. You'd
Yeah,
had to have
yeah.
that, you'd had to have this experience to be able to participate in this conversation, and that would narrow it down to a handful of people in the entire world. There's your there's your opportunity. Oh, and it was what I was expressing earlier about the blessing of technology has now turned dramatically. You don't need Pontiac. You don't need Detroit. You don't really, that game is over. They need you.
They do, but but we still have to,
Yes, we do, but
And
we're
we will, and we
asking,
are,
but
yep.
but
so they
they
don't
have just
feel like we're the enemy.
they just gave us the justification. They wrote the report.
Then we need the accreditation
They,
from the governor who says blesses us, and I'm doing now the blessing of the cross, I guess, the positive sign of the cross. The Hail Mary. I'm not
you
Catholic,
know,
so I don't
I
go there.
you know, every
Oh my goodness.
entrepreneurial success ultimately arrives at the story,
Yes.
and many try to create one. Very few have lived one.
Well, you know what I envisioned when you what you said that but I thought about Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we're really I don't we're the futures, emerging
Okay.
futures of
Okay. So now put this in to Michigan Central. That's what we're bringing to Michigan Central.
You guys are already there, right?
Right.